As I'm sure you've all heard by now, Prime Video's The Boys has finally finished its 7-year run with what most people, myself included, are calling a massive disappointment of a final season. I don't know what went wrong between then and now, but there are a lot of things that Season 5 messed up on, and today I'm going to be talking for an undetermined amount of time about some of its worst moments, because I hate myself and I hate you too. Without wasting any more time, let's just get right into it. A-Train is a character that had a lot of potential that became more and more apparent as the show went on, and his redemption arc was one of the best parts of the story, or at least it would have been if the writers didn't make one very big mistake. You see, in the first episode of Season 5, A-Train finally reaches the end of his arc when he sacrifices himself to save Huey and the others from Homelander. Now, don't get me wrong, A-Train dying was the best outcome for his character growth. That's not the mistake I'm talking about here. The issue isn't that he died, it's how he died that brings the story down, because, like I said, in the circumstances that surround his death, the writers made one very big mistake. They showed us what it looks like when A-Train runs. A-Train arrives at the Freedom Camp, and everything is standing completely still while he not only stops and takes a look around, but speeds up even past what he was already moving at. This one simple scene has implications that not only make his death not make any sense, but retroactively make the entire show worse. If when A-Train runs, everything around him looks like a statue, and he can go even faster than that base speed it takes for him to make everything look like it's standing still, then bottom line, A-Train should be unfuckwithable. If A-Train wants to hit someone, that person should get hit no matter what. If he wants to get away from someone, then there should be no way for them to stop him. Nothing and no one should even be able to slow him down if that's how he perceives everything when he runs. If he is able to move freely through a space where everything looks like it's standing still to him, he shouldn't be able to be slowed down, surprised, or even tracked by anyone or anything when he's running. And it especially shouldn't be possible for him to be caught off guard by a woman standing still in the middle of the street. It doesn't even make sense for Homelander to be keeping up with A-Train like this, because not only have we never been shown everything slowing down to a standstill for Homelander when he moves fast, but we can actively see him slowing down, blinking, and losing sight of A-Train while he's chasing him. In those stretches of time, A-Train should just be gone. Now this of course raises the topic of how horribly inconsistent Homelander is, but don't worry, we'll get to that soon enough. Sage exists for practically no reason. First of all, her motivation has changed so drastically over the course of her appearances that she may as well not have any motivation at all. First, she just wanted to help Homelander because she wanted to be recognized for her intelligence and wanted to see just how far she could go with it. And yeah, sure, that's a fine motivation for a super smart character to have. But then Season 5 hits and her motivation is kind of up in the air until we eventually learn that now she wants the world to descend into chaos and Homelander to die and the soup virus to be released, so that she can go live in a bunker by herself where no one can bother her. Which is something she could have just done in the first place if that's what she really wanted. But oh wait, my bad. That's not what she wants. Because in the very last episode of the show, it's revealed that what she actually wants is to get rid of her powers and be normal. Which is also something that she could have done at any time. Considering that she's had access to Soldier Boy for a while, and can apparently pretty easily make her own version of Soldier Boy, there's no reason why she couldn't have just taken away her powers at any point. Also, the whole reason that this not wanting powers revelation comes about is really fucking stupid. After Homelander has the V1 and is a bigger threat than ever, Sage takes herself out of the game for no reason by provoking Kimiko into wiping out her powers. At the most crucial time for the boys to be using every possible resource at their disposal, the smartest person in the world not only makes herself completely useless against Homelander, but also, by taking away her powers, somehow makes herself rock fucking stupid.
We're talking about breaking into the White House?
Yeah, and we have to assume Homelander knows we're coming.
I got it. You wear disguises. You dress up like those soldiers with the furry hats. Shit. That's England. Ignore me.
Which, let's be honest, isn't even a huge step down from what she was like before, considering how badly she was written. Sage's character makes no sense when you consider what somebody with super intelligence should be able to do. If her motivation was to kill the other soups and go live in a bunker by herself, then why didn't she just make a soup virus herself? Why couldn't she have just killed Homelander a long time ago if all it really takes is just the right amount of radiation? If her goal was to depower herself so she doesn't have to deal with her super intelligence, then why not just get Soldier Boy to take her powers away? Or just give somebody else Soldier Boy's powers if it's that easy? Or better yet, just build a machine to do it. Besides helping Homelander take over the country, which again is completely counterproductive to what her end goal really was, Sage didn't really do anything. She was mostly just there to act smart and be all like, heh, you dum-dums are so predictable to my huge brain. But instead of actually backing any of that up, she just consistently makes the dumbest choices imaginable and leaves things up to chance instead of her actual intelligence. Everything about her character was just stupid and needlessly convoluted. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the biggest problem with characters who have super intelligence is that the people writing them do not. The Gen V characters exist. That's it, that's the whole category. But seriously, the inclusion of the Gen V characters in Season 5, especially in the finale, is a prime example of what not to do with your show. In the middle of the show's most important season, a bunch of random characters you've never seen before show up, and not only do the main characters act like, oh yeah, Marie Moreau, we know who you are, we've met several times before, but the show itself also acts like the audience is supposed to know who these random people are. There's barely any explanation or proper introduction given to them either. Having a character in your show only really makes sense if you go and watch another show is an awful choice. Why are we spending time in the finale focusing on these characters we don't even know? The Gen V characters didn't even do anything. Their entire purpose was to show up, talk for like 10 minutes, get told to leave by Starlight, and then leave. They added absolutely nothing to the show besides confusion. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Something that The Boys Season 5 did not have. And I'm not even talking about consistency with power scaling, we'll get to that soon by the way. I'm talking about how this season pretty much had no idea what it was doing half the time. The season begins and immediately the whole point of this arc is to perfect the virus and kill Homelander with it before he gets the V1. Because if he does get the V1, he'll be unstoppable. And that's saying a lot because Homelander can already pretty much do whatever he wants. Keep that in mind for later. So with this established, this season has now become an all gas, no brakes, life or death scenario for the boys. But for some reason, for the entire season, everyone is acting like a fucking idiot. Now for Homelander, it makes enough sense why he doesn't just go and kill the boys immediately. It's because he's scared of the virus. Sure, whatever. But for the boys, it makes no sense why half the time they act like bumbling morons who have no idea how serious their situation is. For example, at one point, they've perfected the virus and they have a plan to kill Homelander with it while he's giving a speech at a church. For some reason, this job falls to Huey and Annie, who is a very well-known and recognizable fugitive by now. All they have to do is sneak into the church and place the virus sprayer on stage near where Homelander will be standing later. But instead of doing so as quickly and quietly as possible, they just waltz straight into the church and walk into the stage area while talking to each other at a normal volume. Annie then stands in the middle of the stage where anybody who just so happens to walk in there could see her immediately. And that's pretty much exactly what happens. After a quick fight, they have to run away, ruining what, as far as they know, is their one big chance to kill Homelander. And does Butcher seem the least bit mad about this later? No. The boys sneak into Vought Studios to see what O-Father is doing. Why do they care about what O-Father is doing? I don't know. But once again, they walk straight into enemy territory, and instead of just putting some surveillance equipment in to get the information they need, they loiter around where other people can see them, leading Huey and Butcher to get caught when a nearby psychic senses them. Homelander can hear Frenchie lightly tap his finger against a doorframe across the room, but can't hear the heartbeats or the breathing of two people a couple feet from him. Soldier Boy gets choked out in like 5 seconds while barely fighting back, and for some reason his radiation blast takes like 5 times longer to work than it normally does. Black Noir just sits there and lets himself get choked out by a microphone wire and stabbed to death, even though he's durable enough to brush off getting Swiss cheesed by a minigun, and he can fucking fly. Bullets conveniently work on a soup all of a sudden. The Deep can't swim. Everywhere you look in this season, something is happening that makes no sense but has all of the plot relevance, and we haven't even gotten to the worst of it yet. The final fight of the series is just absolute dog shit. 90% of it is lead up, 10% of it is the actual fight, and 100% of it has so much bullshit packed in that I can't really pick certain moments from it to talk about. So instead of trying to do that, I'm just going to go through the whole fight. While Homelander is broadcasting his speech to America, the boys are infiltrating the White House through a set of tunnels under the building. In the middle of this, they come across a trap, which for some reason they didn't expect, but the trap is just a speaker that plays a dog whistle noise that only affects Soups and a bunch of people above them that start shooting at them. Thinking about it, this should probably be a pretty easy thing for them to get out of, but whatever. Ashley comes down and saves them a minute later and then runs away. Now that the boys are back on their way through the White House, this is where things start to get really stupid. So just to make sure we're clear on something, this is the final battle. This is the final stand that they're putting up against a guy who's practically able to kill any of them pretty easily and has no qualms doing so. So the best option, the only option they have, is to stick together so they can use every resource at their disposal to kill him. That is the only option that makes sense. So why is that the exact opposite of what they do? On their way through the White House halls, they come across the Deep crying in one of the rooms. He immediately locks in on Starlight and says he's going to kill her, to which she replies, "Heh, don't worry guys, I got this." But instead of just blasting him out of the window so he's not a problem anymore, she tackles him out of the window and flies with him away from the White House, removing herself from the situation entirely. But not only does she fly away with him, she flies away with him to the ocean. You know, that thing he's known for? They have a little fight that ends with Annie Biden blasting him into the water. And sure, this leads to him getting skewered by an octopus, but there's no way she could have known that that would happen. So it's still kinda stupid for her to throw the ocean guy she's fighting into the ocean. But whatever, it's not like there was anything more important for her to be doing anyway. Back at the White House, the remainder of the boys are immediately thrown off their feet as O-Father blasts into the room. He makes it clear immediately that he only really wants Butcher and Kimiko, but instead of just spamming his sonic blast over and over so he can get to them, he kinda just stands there. I guess that wooden table they're hiding behind is his secret weakness or something. How the boys get out of this situation is really stupid. Huey spends like half a minute explaining what he's about to do before shooting the fire suppression system above them to make smoke and give them some cover. Again, O-Father kinda just stands there even though he knows approximately where they are and could just sonic blast them again to knock them off their feet. But no, the smoke screen works and O-Father kinda just looks around like an idiot. And as if that wasn't plot armory enough, Huey then does a terrible impression of Butcher to lead O-Father away, and it works?
Oi! This shot is diabolical!
O-Father gets led away into a room while Kimiko and Butcher keep going, and when O-Father sees Huey, he's confused why Butcher isn't there and demands that Huey tell him where he went. When Huey politely refuses, O-Father starts inhaling to let off a sonic blast and kill him, but before he can do that, MM comes up behind him and wraps a ball gag around his mouth, which deflects his sonic blast back into his own head, killing him. Okay. There is a lot of bullshit to unpack there, but let's start with the fact that that shouldn't have even worked in the first place. The ball gag is not fastened. MM is just holding it. So if O-Father is putting out that much force, it should have just ripped MM's hands off, or at least ripped the ball gag out of his hands. And sure, fine, maybe it makes sense that the ball gag itself is durable enough to tank the blast, because we were told earlier that it's made of some super reinforced steel gobbledygook, whatever. But you know who couldn't possibly have known that? MM. As far as MM knows, he just grabbed a random ball gag that was lying around, and what do you know, it worked. And the plot armor thickens. Speaking of thick-ass plot armor, it is finally time to get to the main event of the season, the thing we've been leading up to this entire series, Butcher and Kimiko versus Homelander. Right off the bat, Homelander hits Butcher with a small laser burst that knocks him back into a wall. He then zooms, or more accurately, putters towards Kimiko before he's knocked off course by one of Butcher's tentacles that he easily slices off before hitting Kimiko with another short laser blast. With Kimiko knocked away, Butcher and Homelander kinda just throw each other around a little. Besides punching and shoving each other, Butcher uses his tentacles and Homelander uses more short laser blasts. When Homelander eventually throws Butcher off, Kimiko tries to use her new radiation powers on him, but Homelander just lasers her again, sending her flying back. Now, if you've been paying attention, you should be seeing a pattern here. For whatever reason, Homelander seems to be significantly weaker here than he usually is. Not only are his punches not really doing much damage, but his flight speed is nowhere near as fast as it's been shown to be. And his heat vision especially isn't being used with the potency it usually has. Time and time again during this fight, Homelander uses his heat vision, but only uses it for really short bursts instead of just frying Butcher or Kimiko with a longer lasting beam. His laser vision doesn't even seem that strong anymore, because whenever he uses it, it kinda just pushes them away, which especially doesn't make sense considering that just a few episodes ago, he cut Kimiko in half with it. There's nothing to say that her new radiation powers made her a lot more durable. In fact, there's evidence to say the opposite. But even if it did make her more durable, what's Butcher's excuse? Butcher doesn't have the super special radiation powers, so why isn't he getting Swiss cheesed every time Homelander lasers him? And it just doesn't stop. Throughout the entire rest of the fight, Homelander tries to fly off and he's just so slow. Or he punches or lasers somebody and it does basically nothing. This character has been pretty smart so far. Yeah, he's not like Lelouch level tactical genius, but he's still reasonably intelligent about what to do in certain situations and how to use his powers. But here he kinda just comes off as dumb. I'm sitting down on the day of the finale release, and the entire time I'm watching this fight, I'm just like, why are people who are provably weaker than Homelander pretty much soloing him? Why doesn't Homelander just throw Butcher out a window or barrel through a wall with him whenever he's got a grip on him? Why isn't he using his lasers for more than a second at a time? Why does this entire fight feel so manufactured and low stakes? Was this seriously what 5 whole seasons of buildup was for? But as quickly as I can ask these questions, it's over. After a kind of cringe vision of Frenchie, Kimiko finally gets her radiation powers to work and sets them off, frying Homelander and taking away his powers. The fight is over. Well, not over. Butcher still gets to open him up like a can of tuna, but you know what I mean. The final fight is over. Homelander is dead, and I feel nothing. I feel nothing because they didn't beat him through cunning or strategy. They didn't beat him in a way that was poetic or intelligent. They beat him because the plot just demanded it. That's it. 5 seasons of build-up, of scorched earth talk, all hyping up this inevitable final battle, all for it to end with a lackluster 3v1 fight that barely managed to wreck an office room. Disappointment. That's all The Boys Season 5 managed to accomplish. Just disappointment and a lot of sex jokes.
Ooh, yep. Smells exactly how I thought a secret fuck tunnel would smell.
Did you fuck me? What?
Does your face full of pubes mean your friends fuck your pussy more?
I have fucked been fucked by 80% of these people. There's not a pair of loose lips in the bunch.
So each layer of cum represents the slow passage of time.
But hey, at least they've got that spin-off show. Oh wait, they canceled that? But hey, at least they've got those other 2 spin-off shows coming out. I'm sure those will turn out well. And that is about it. I know I'm really late to this conversation, but I have a non-existent upload schedule, and it's hot as shit here, so recording is a nightmare a lot of the time. That being said, if you made it this far, consider gently molesting that button down there. If you liked the video, let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.